Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Phoning It In. I'm Michael Carvelli, joined by Nick Arthur and John Terry, and we're back again. John, I want to get into. So we kind of teased this last week on the show, but I got out to the movies again. You got to go out to a sporting event for the first time, and I want to get.
Event.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be so exciting here the next few months, weeks, whatever, to start talking about like doing anything that isn't in the house,
sitting around doing nothing. Well, First off, I would like to acknowledge that I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt in my basement. I have no hat on. And it is like 33, 34 degrees outside. It snowed today.
Wow.
So I'd just like to acknowledge that. Second, yes, I have props. A Braves game this weekend.
Nice.
Or a Cubs game, however you look at it.
Yeah.
Went over to Wrigley. So
I was on our rundown thing, we have John's new Chicago team. So I'm assuming, since you called it a Braves game, I'm assuming that is not going to be the case.
Yeah, well, it's been tough. Well, let me talk about this Wrigley thing first.
Yeah.
So I went to Wrigley when I was a little to go on a tour. And so I didn't count it as one of my stadiums. I think, like you guys know, like I go to baseball stadiums.
I have this to bring up as well. After
I keep track. So this was my 104th baseball stadium.
Insane.
So it was super cool though, and I wasn't planning on going, but I got cheap tickets. So I got them on StubHub. Went to Friday's game. It was a day game. It was freezing. It was like 44 degrees in Chicago. But I was like, tickets have been so expensive because it's like at 20% capacity, and Cubs tickets are already hard to come by, even though they suck, because everyone's like, oh, it's the Cubs. Like, take me out to the ball game, blah, blah, blah. So these tickets, I had to buy 2 of them on StubHub. Mariel had work, so I had to go alone. And I got them. It was like 2 tickets for like $18, including fees. It was amazing. The beer cost me $14 a pop, and had 2 of those bad boys. But it was fun, man.
Hold on, they cost $14 each.
Maybe it was 12.
What were you getting?
I got the large.
They only sell the tall boys, and they're it's like $12 to $15 for a beer now at a professional event.
Yeah, I mean, you can get like a 12 ounce for like $9, or you can get like the 18 ounce like super beer for like 13. So you get the
high and ball.
I feel like when I went to the last game I went to at PNC, it wasn't that expensive.
It was pricey.
The cheapest beer I think you'll find,
like 8 and 10.
That I think is like the cheapest beer you'll find at a sporting event now is going to be like $8 for a 12 ounce Bud Light.
Yeah, on like a Thursday.
Yeah, this wasn't bad.
Yeah,
it was special. It might have been, I think I might have paid $8 for like a craft beer.
Some places will have like a specials up until like first pitch or kickoff because they want people to come into the stadium early and not tailgate, but come buy their beer. Whatever. It was, I intentionally, when I was looking at tickets, I could have, like, my tickets were horrible. I mean, I think, well, they actually weren't that bad. I really enjoyed them, but they were like 3 rows from the top.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm just gonna get the cheapest ticket because I'm not really gonna care. Like, I just want to like experience Wrigley and not like, I want to get 2 beers and not feel bad about it. So,
were there a lot of people? I mean, how are they doing attendance?
So I think they're doing like 20% or something. It wasn't, it was weird. Socially distant seating in baseball, like I can get behind. It was nice not having anyone near me. Like
yeah,
I was just sitting there.
Put your legs out the row in front of you.
This might also be my experience of like mostly watching Pirates games, but I also feel like you typically tend to get fairly.
That's fair, but I feel like probably not it. But it was nice going, knowing that I was gonna have no one sitting next to me.
Yeah.
Everyone was wearing a mask. It was cold though. Like it was pretty frigid. So like it was, I was like bundled up. I walked there. So I parked near our old apartment and walked. It was like about a 15-minute walk. And yeah, man, it was cool. The Braves won. I left in midway through the 7th inning because I was freezing my ever living tail off. I mean, it was cold. It was windy. But I felt safe, I felt safe the entire time. I never felt like anyone was getting close to me. Like I did kind of walk around a little bit. And it was crazy. Like, I don't know if they've cut back staff, but like I very easily could have walked to the seats right behind home plate. And how it was set up is you knew which seats people could sit in because there was a little sticker on the back of the seat. So I'm sure they put the little stickers there, hoping people wouldn't know, so that ushers could see if people were sitting in seats they shouldn't be sitting in.
Yeah.
But
Only the facilities guy would have
right.
completely spotted that flaw in their system and understood everything about what was going on.
Like I went down to like the 200 level. It's interesting. Wrigley's set up weird. Like if you're in the 200 level, or the 200 level is not great because you have this big overhang and you can't, like, a fly ball you couldn't see. I sat there for like half an inning and you just couldn't see anything. It was similar to Fenway. But I was at the top. I had this beautiful view of the city. I could see the water. I had a whole view of the ballpark. It was cool, man. It was super sweet. Crossed another stadium off the list. And it was, I'm glad I got to go.
You're on the third baseline, right? Where Steve Bartman's stuff happened.
Third baseline.
I mean, you weren't down low, but
yeah, no, I was higher up. Yeah. But it was, I was very high up. It was cool though. It was a cool ballpark. Reminded me a lot of Fenway. Just, I don't know, just classic, man. Like just sitting there.
There's been a lot of updates to it in the last like 5 to 10 years.
The premium areas. I was there for a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and like we saw some of like the premium areas. The press box are like super nice, but the seating area you wouldn't notice. I mean, like the concession stands are nicer, the concourses are wider, but it's not like, it still feels like Wrigley. Like they didn't take that away.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool though.
Nice. Yeah,
but not my new Chicago team.
No,
I don't think so. It was interesting. I've been on the fence about the Braves, like the whole, like this voting rights stuff with the All-Star game and their statement, like just wasn't great. And they moved out of Atlanta, which pissed me off, mostly because like they wanted to be closer to white people / their season ticket holders. And I thought that was like kind of like a racially charged move. And I just didn't, whatever. It pissed me off that they moved out, into the burbs. But I found myself cheering for them at this game, and it reaffirmed my fanhood for the Braves.
Nice.
It's cool to be in like away turf rooting for the Braves. Like I have my hat on, I have my jersey on. It was fun.
It's a bold move to do that. I feel
as I was walking up, I was like, this might be stupid. Like, what happens if I get heckled? Like what?
That's the thing I would not want.
And I was by myself.
Like I know some people would probably be worried, like, oh, what if like a fan like, pushes me or something. I wouldn't be worried about that kind of stuff at all. I would solely just not want anyone to say mean things about
So my buddy David did tell me, he's like, don't sit in the bleachers. Like you will get heckled if you sit in the bleachers. Like don't sit in the outfield. So that was, but there, whatever. There was a Braves fan like one section over.
As long as you're not being an asshat.
Yeah,
that's
back
also
to them.
true.
Like whatever. Like they're heckling you.
Give you,
whatever.
It is what it is. I love baseball stadiums. Like I honestly, to be completely honest, I think baseball is super boring. Like I going to a game alone is like not something I would suggest. But I love baseball games and going and seeing the stadium and being able to walk around the stadium and like just taking it all in. Like I don't really love what's happening on the field unless it's like an important game, but I love everything about a baseball stadium, the smell of the hot dogs, the beer, like people yelling at stuff during the game because they're bored. I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because you've got me thinking about how when I go to different types of sporting events, how I observe things differently.
Interesting.
And I don't want to get off on a too big of a side topic here, but I'm just thinking, okay, when I go to a baseball game, like you said, I find myself often like looking off into the distance. I'm looking at like that boat that's going across the bay, and I'm listening to the organist play whatever tunes they are.
You're maybe walking. You're maybe walking around, standing on a drink rail, drinking a beer.
Out in nature, almost.
Yeah, and like you're watching the game some, but you're taking a lap around the stadium. You're standing in right field with a beer, chatting it up with this other guy for a little bit. You're very that's that experience. When I go to an NBA game, I'm so locked into like the between game events and like the bringing out the mascot jumping on the trampoline during the timeout and the like, all those like in between the game stuff is what I am locked in. I'm not walking around the arena really or anything. I'm in my seat. And when I'm going to a football game, it's all about like that atmosphere, right? I'm not walking around, but like I love when it's third down. I love when it's that big play, and it's like that everything comes down to this moment. So I don't know. I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on that.
it is kind of funny how like the whole vibe of baseball is almost that like it is completely secondary. Like the game is like if you're at home watching on TV, like baseball is a perfect thing to just have on while you do other stuff.
Yep.
I have it on right
Like
now.
you're just doing a bunch of other things, and like you just kind of have baseball around so you can kind of peek up for a couple minutes and see what's going on. When you're at the stadium, you're there probably. I mean, I know John went by himself, but like typically you're there with a group of friends or family or whatever.
Actually, on that note, correct. Let me know what you think about this, Mike. I think baseball is the easiest sport to go to by yourself. You're in a random city on a work trip. There's a baseball game across town. You grab a ticket. To me, it's the least awkward going to a baseball game
I think I agree with him.
than football or basketball.
Why?
One, because I'm just kind of taking everything in the surroundings anyway. I don't
Like you
need,
can be on your phone and you're
So
not
much of
gonna
my
miss
enjoyment in person for baseball, because I like to do just other things, is to have other people there with me. Whereas like if I'm at a basketball game and I'm by myself, I can sit in my seat and be locked in watching the game,
Interesting.
probably texting
That's a good
you
point.
guys as things are going on, whatever, and it's fine.
That's a good point. I guess like baseball for me, it's like more acceptable to leave early.
That's
you
also
know,
true because
It's like the 6th or 7th inning. You kind of just leave whenever.
Yeah.
You can take a lap around the stadium. You know, you can spend 2 innings trying to find the best place to get food.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And you can still watch the game because you can see it through the concourse.
You're
You can see the
outside.
sound. Yeah.
You're just like chilling outside, and you're taking weather. I don't. Maybe it's just with the way that my work trips have kind of played out. I have found myself going to baseball games alone frequently.
What about a soccer game?
So the thing about the soccer game, though, I was just thinking about that, is soccer, I mean, let's face it, like there's a lot of downtime during the game. So like if you're at a soccer game with your friends, like you can talk while you're watching the game and still have a conversation, but watch the game. If you're there alone, are you just going to sit there silently? Like you can't be on your phone because you literally might miss like the only goal in the game. I think soccer's tough, man.
Soccer's tough. It depends on the atmosphere too. If it's just like a midweek,
MLS game
with FC Dallas and Vancouver, like I don't want to be there by myself. Like I want to be able to talk and drink with my friends and stuff. Like I can't really walk around the stadium like I can in baseball. I need to watch the game, but like I don't know. But if I'm like at obviously like an intense playoff game or something where the place is packed, okay, I could get into it. I meet Raul in the crowd like I did at the LAFC game. He gets me a beer. We have fun. So soccer's tough though. It can be hit or miss. Baseball, it doesn't matter. I can go alone.
That's interesting. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never thought about that before.
Michael made a great point about basketball because basketball is the sport, at least, and we're a little biased, I think, Michael and I, but
as basketball people,
between football, basketball, and baseball, and even soccer, I think basketball is the one that we understand the most and appreciate the X's and O's the most.
What about hockey?
So hockey, I've only gone to one, and I went alone. I did go alone because it was a work trip. It was tough.
Where did you go? Where was it?
I was at the Honda Center in Anaheim for a playoff game against the Edmonton Oilers.
Playoff game.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that the other day.
Yeah, and I left with 8 minutes to go in the third period with the Ducks down 3-0, and they ended up winning in overtime. But like it was cold. My feet were freezing. I didn't really have anyone to talk to. You can't really like walk around. It's like an indoor arena. There's nothing that I can like observe or enjoy in the surroundings. It's just like a dome arena. So it kind of sucked being there by myself.
I've never. So I think I've never been to a hockey game in person. I think genuinely the only like 2 times I've even watched a hockey game on TV are when Nick and I lived together and there was like a Penguins playoff game on or something.
Interesting. I grew up loving hockey. The Thrashers were like loved it.
Everyone always tells me that like if I went to one in person, I would be hooked.
But when the Thrashers left Atlanta, I've been like very bummed about the sport of hockey.
Yeah.
Which now we can get into my favorite, what I might be adopting as my new Chicago sports team, because I want to have a Chicago
NBA.
I'm thinking we're going to go with the Chicago Blackhawks, which actually they just won the game. They were down 4-1 like 40 minutes ago, and they just won 5-4. Pretty cool.
You can focus on the podcast. That's great.
Love hockey. I missed all the goals. I just saw them celebrating because, again, it's a sport you can't go and not watch the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about hockey, man. I love it. I love it's fast paced. I love there are only 2 intermission. Like it's fast. Like all the stoppages are really quick. You don't have like huge TV time. I don't know. It just feels faster.
Yeah.
And there's something about being in person and hearing the puck hit things and hearing the ice, like the skates carve through the ice. It's something really cool about that. So
and the Blackhawks are just ingrained in the Chicago culture of just being really cold and eating brats, and I don't know. It's just
True.
Blackhawks is just it's a great.
It feels
you're in a great city to be a fan of that team, of a hockey team.
And by process of elimination, like I just said, I was a Braves fan, so I can't be a Cubs fan. It'd be weird to be a White Sox fan. Plus, like they're on the South Side, they're like a 45-minute drive from where I live. I like the Falcons just because I like the owner of the Falcons. I like Atlanta United. I like the owner of Atlanta United. So there go the Bears, and then there go the Fire. I'm not like a huge NBA guy. Like just to be honest, I don't. Like, I mean, you guys, that's no surprise to you guys. I'm like, whatever, like go Hawks, I guess.
Hawks are better than the Bulls anyway. So,
but I don't I don't have a hockey team. Like the Seattle Kraken were going to be the hockey team, but now I live in Chicago. I feel like the Blackhawks, it is perfect.
Yeah. Why don't you go to college? Adopt a college.
So I was actually thinking about that. The other day I was driving home from the office and I went by University of Illinois, Chicago, and I drove by their arena. I was stopped at like a stoplight outside their arena, and you could see in the arena. And I was like, shit, I should get some courtside seats to University of Illinois, Chicago, and just, go for it.
They're also like usually fairly halfway decent.
They're decent
for like a small conference school.
I mean, a lot of places. You got Northwestern here. You got UIC. You have
Loyola's been to
you have
2
University.
Sweet 16s.
They're done now.
Right. But you also have Northwestern. Like there are some schools nearby. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm thinking the Blackhawks for starters.
I like it.
And Mario likes to go to hockey games too. Like she likes watching hockey in person. So I think that's what we might do. Go Blackhawks.
Love it.
I'll come for a game.
Yes. That'd be so much fun.
So I know this is going to end up being a very sports heavy episode because in addition to this, I feel like we should also bring up that it seems like, your guys' team's not as much, but it seems like the soccer world as a whole dodged a pretty big bullet this week.
Dude, did that not remind you of conference realignment? Like it was like another, I feel like when conference realignment happened, we all, like Americans were like these idiots over college sports. And it was so refreshing to see that shit show happen on another continent.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So for anybody who doesn't know, a handful of the biggest soccer clubs in the world.
Biggest.
I mean, I would say most of them are among the most recognizable in the world right now.
Most recognized soccer clubs in the world.
Yeah. Like what else?
That's what he means by biggest, I think. Like biggest brands.
Biggest brands. Yeah. Sorry. I thought you meant like biggest,
like
is
the tallest
most powerful,
players, most powerful, the heaviest players.
But they also are, though. That's what that means.
Yeah, I guess.
You're a big brand.
Those are the most successful, most recognizable, most wealthy. Those are the biggest clubs in the
whatever.
world.
Okay, keep going. I was trying to make a joke, and you guys took it too literally. Keep moving on.
Mad that Aston Villa isn't included.
No, I'm glad they weren't included. I'm glad that the club.
Stay over there.
I'm glad that the.
I'm glad Mary didn't ask me to prom. I didn't want to go anyway.
I didn't even want to do
it.
But yeah, so was it 12?
12
initially. 12,
soon to be 15,
including Spurs, which is
exactly. That's my point. But keep going.
The 12 biggest clubs in the world, including
they went to the
Tottenham
Champions
Hotspur.
League final like 2 years ago.
Yeah, give me a break.
Okay, fine.
They decide they're going to form a super league, basically. So you had 6 from England. You had. See, this is where I'm gonna
2
struggle.
from Italy.
I did not
right?
follow this a ton.
2
2
from
Italy,
Italy, 2 from Spain.
only 2 from Spain, and then
Who were the
others?
last 2?
No, 3 from Italy. You had Milan, AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus.
Juve, yeah. And then you had
Okay.
Barcelona and Real Madrid. Oh, and Atletico, you had 3 from La Liga also.
Oh,
So
okay,
that's
okay,
all
yeah.
of them.
There we go.
That's
Okay.
all. That's all.
Perfect. So yes, those 12 with an unnamed other 3 who get out of this looking great because they were never attached.
Right.
Whoever they were, whether it's PSG, Bayern Munich, whoever it is, they can get out of it without any of the major backlash of all of this crap.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was funny to see like the board of directors for the Super League, which ended up being like 3 out of 5 Americans running the show, because it was very weird to see it. Like, essentially it's a way for these clubs to avoid like having to qualify for Champions League to get big payouts.
It was a guaranteed payday every year.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's in a way, it's like while staying in their European structure with their leagues, unless they got kicked out of their leagues, which it looked like that was a possibility, which is why the thing is not happening. It almost looked like they were trying to sort of form it into like take what we love about like soccer over there, which is like this pyramid system where you get rewarded for being good, and sort of adapting it into the way that like the NFL is, where everybody always gets that payday, everybody gets, the big money and whatnot. And it was so fascinating.
To me, it was more of like the baseball model where like there's no salary cap, and
yeah,
it's
true. That's fair. That's better.
Whoever has the most money, the big payroll will
win most of the time.
Win most of the time, yeah.
The thing that gets me, like, how long had they been coming up with this thing? Answer: it had been a while. Could they not have come up with something better than the European Super League? Like, I just, and then like the logo was like, I know people were talking about this on the internet. Like the logo, it just said the Super League.
I'm
like,
so glad that I'd never really paid.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't think this thing was going to last. I just thought like there's no way it had legs. I didn't think it was going to be done within 2 days of it being announced. Like the whole thing.
Well, I think when it leaked to us, it was already like a done thing. I think, right? I mean, whenever it leaked, and they actually it leaked like a few hours before the Super League put out their official statement that it had formed this. These clubs were joining this league. So, but yeah, it's the timing makes sense. You're looking at a season right now where like Arsenal and Liverpool are probably going to miss out on Champions League. Spurs as well potentially. And every so often, AC Milan, Inter, they'll have these down years. They'll miss out on Champions League. So the timing made sense for me to just guarantee that competition. And I'll be honest, like as an American fan, Champions League, sure, it's on the CBS All Access, but even then, like I need a subscription to this app that like I don't use really for anything else. You know what I mean? It's not just something that's on Fox like it used to be with the contract. And if like Barcelona, Real Madrid, El Clasico, we don't get that on normal TV here. I mean, you have to have BN Sports to even watch that. Yeah. So for me, like, this league presented the opportunity to potentially, if I assume they were going to partner with some sort of a streaming system, maybe something that I already use frequently, whether that's Amazon Prime Video, whatever they were going to do, they were going to potentially present us with a platform to see these teams play each other more frequently and more accessibly than we currently are able to.
And that would be really cool. And this is because that's kind of the first thing, like one of my first thoughts is like, oh yeah, like it would be kind of cool to just see that happen. Like on a random Thursday, we get, Barcelona against Man City or something like that. And it's not Champions League or whatever. It's just sort of a normal thing. But then I was like, but that would also sort of wear out its welcome after like
a couple of years of watching this.
That's the great thing about these Champions League matchups and stuff is it doesn't happen very often. And so is it as fun when these clubs that are so dominant in terms of like the players they can bring in because they are these big brands and things like that, would it be as fun if they were playing each other all the time? Would that like the cool factor, I guess, of it being that matchup go away after a couple seasons?
Yeah. I think ultimately people would choose between the two. They
Yeah.
would. I mean, Champions League, Super League. Which one is it? You know, because you're gonna choose to value one over the other. Just like the teams are going to choose to value when are we going to rest our players. You know, we play. You know, we have the Super League match on Wednesday against Barcelona, but we play Saturday against Leicester. Let's rest the guys against Leicester. You know, that would be interesting what they're going to value more. But go ahead, John. I'm sorry. You had a point there. I didn't mean to jump in.
Can't remember what I was gonna say. To be honest,
I'm just glad. Like I said, I was sort of relying on you guys to like give update. Like I would see tweets and stuff like that, but I never read too close. I think partially because I was just hoping it would never actually be a thing.
That's what I was gonna say. You just reminded me. I thought so. Here's what I think happened, and I obviously don't know anything. I think from the beginning it was sketchy that you announced this big thing and you only have 12 of the 15 teams signed up. I think that's weird. I don't think you announced this thing in a perfect world unless you know all the details and people have signed the dotted line, right? I think it leaked in the media and they said, oh shit, we got to get this out there because we need to beat the like people hating on it before they know what it is. And I think they announced this thing, the Super League, like announced their own league before they were ready to announce it because they didn't want to get buried before it ever got started.
Yeah.
And I think obviously it doesn't matter because it got buried anyways. But why else would they announced it at midnight in Europe?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's the leak that forced their hand on the announcement. And we talked about this, I think, in our just text conversations throughout the week. What I didn't understand was just the complete disconnect of these people who formed the Super League and even the heads of these clubs
and
with
coaches and players and
what did they expect the reaction of the fans to be? I mean, that's the part I don't get is you don't announce this like this unless you're just like fully certain that this is going to be accepted and supported by your fans in the world. And clearly, like, it's very obviously was not going to be that way.
No.
And then everyone was basically like, you know, this sucks, screw this. And you see all these fans from all the different clubs, you know, showing up at the field for their team, and they're hanging all these banners about how this is so bad. And then basically they're like, oh shit, actually we're not going to do this anymore, you know, and all the clubs pulled out because the fans forced their hands with the backlash. That was wild. How could you be so disconnected from what your fans want?
Can I ask you guys an honest question? And like, I don't know the answer to this. Have you guys seen on Twitter or like on TV anyone who supports this thing?
Yeah.
Well, I will say, I think that at least my following, and I think you guys as well, I think it's very biased. It's very Premier League focused. Like who I follow on Twitter, who are these pundits that chime in on this stuff, and even the clubs themselves, it's all Premier League. And Premier League is so gung-ho with English spirit, promotion, relegation, small clubs matter. So I think that we were getting that one side of the story. I honestly don't know if Barcelona fans went to the grounds and held up any signs fighting this. I don't know.
That's fair point.
So you're mostly talking about, because like I know, was it Real Madrid's president or chairman or whoever who was like, this could change the game. Like, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even after the backlash had started, he was still like giving the reasoning of why.
I mean, those guys play like firefighters and farmers every other weekend in the Liga, and I'm sorry, I'm biased as well, but like I feel like those leagues are extremely top heavy, and it probably gets really boring playing a lot of those games because those teams are just so much better than the rest of their league.
Yeah.
So, and I just feel like those fans are more like corporate. Like I don't know. Is it bad that I think that like so many of Barcelona's fans don't even live in Spain? So like, what's it to them if La Liga gets devalued?
I was gonna say, I was also surprised, and I don't disagree with John at all that like it feels like they kind of got their hand forced in when to announce. But there's a part of me that also feels like the Super League was kind of built to really almost be an American audience type of thing.
Oh, interesting.
That like, yeah, they'll announce it at like 6:00 in the US or 7:00 in the US or whatever, because that's when people are looking, and they're going to try to get this thing on Amazon or, ESPN or something like that in America, where they can get a ton of American audiences and get a bunch of American money over there. Like, I do think in a way that because like Nick said, how many people do you know in the US who like decide they're going to become a soccer fan? So like, okay, who's good? Barcelona's got Messi. Okay, I'll be a Barcelona fan.
Do you guys think the majority of American soccer fans are English Premier League fans? Like of fanhood in Europe?
Probably.
Like I think there are a ton of Liga MX fans, but in Europe specifically.
Yeah,
I would say, yeah.
I'm curious. I wasn't going anywhere with that.
Mainly, there's no language barrier. It's
more
of all the
accessible.
major leagues, it's the most accessible with TV contracts.
I would
over
say,
the last 10
yeah,
years.
that's the big thing there, is like just having it on TV all the time. I think you get a lot of people who like Barcelona and Madrid because they are Barcelona and Madrid. But I would say mostly it would be, I feel like there are a lot of like, it feels like a ton of Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United.
I think you also have more like Americans until recently only played in the Premier League. Like they didn't play in Italy or like Spain. You're just starting to now see like Americans kind of break into Italy and Spain. And Americans have been in those leagues, but not at any level, like on teams like Champions, like, Americans have never appeared in like Champions League games as consistently as they have.
Games.
Right, exactly.
I think Sergio Dest was the first American to ever play in El Clasico.
Right. It's crazy, right? Like that's nuts.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's interesting how that's how that's worked out. But I think that's probably part of the attrition towards the EPL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was when we first started talking, I was trying to just kind of play both sides, and there was, to me, there was a pro from the Super League, like I mentioned, getting to see these great players and great teams play each other probably a lot more easily than I can watch them now. But of course, the thing, like Michael said, that most attracted me to English soccer was the promotion relegation model, and that was not going to be a thing. It didn't seem in the Super League as far as being able to qualify for it or being able.
I was going to say
very
there's
clearly
not a chance for like there's not a chance for like an Everton and Aston Villa to play well enough over the course of like a year or 2 years or whatever to earn an invitation into.
Well, in all fairness, we don't really know because they didn't make it far enough to figure out.
But they weren't going to do that. They
did say that there would be
going to they would maybe expand it to like get more in there until they get to like 20 or 25 or whatever. But they were never going to make it a thing where teams would leave.
I think they did say that they were going to have open spots for like 3 teams. I thought that's what I had read.
But it was like
I could see them adding, but I don't see a thing where they were going to like.
Oh, those 12 teams were going to be there forever.
Yeah. And the thing that we always talk about that is the coolest thing about that promotion relegation model and like the FA Cup is when random small clubs will host Manchester United or Liverpool, at their 800-seat stadium for these games, and that stuff just kind of goes away with the Super League. It's not the same. So the small guys don't really have the chance to do that. So I saw pros with it. I certainly saw the cons as well. I probably lean more towards let's not do this. This is not, we're gonna start going down an interesting path here of pay to play stuff.
Yeah.
Which you already get, in my opinion. It's why, the Lakers, Yankees win everything. And that's just the Cowboys is just how it is.
Yeah, I think that just one more thing on from this. I think to me, it's like, I don't think the Champions League perfect. I don't think anyone thinks Champions League's perfect. But the way to fix it isn't by going through in the darkness of night and just announcing your own league just for shits and gigs. Like that's not the solution. You do.
I mean, I'm sure there are issues with it, but like the format of it is great. Like the clubs who play well, you get in.
Yeah, no, I like that part. I think there are I think there's general angst amongst like revenue distribution and like I think there's some larger issues other than just like qualification stuff. Which I don't know enough about. I just like based on what I've read, like it's not just like one club or two clubs. It's a lot of different clubs. But I don't know. I just the way to fix it is not by doing what happened. So
Right. If there was a thing happened in college athletics where a handful of schools announced that they are forming a super league, is there any chance WVU would get in it?
no,
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
But
You don't think WVU would be like,
dude, West Virginia couldn't even get into the ACC.
you know,
well, what I'm saying is, I'm thinking if it's college, it's gonna be more than 12 schools, because you're covering however many. If it's like 20 to 25 schools that are like forming off in like regions, I think WVU could get in.
How many schools did you say?
Like 20 to 25.
Yo, if it's 20 schools, 8 of them are going to be from the SEC.
the thing
And then you got like
there's so
4
many
from
schools.
Texas.
There's so many schools that are like often not ranked as high as West Virginia because they're very inconsistent. But like the brand of like UCLA and like
Michigan.
these schools
But also I'm pointing. I guess I'm saying like if it's all sports or the main two sports that people care about, football and basketball, WVU steady as like a pretty solid program in both. I feel like
Can I name you 25 right now over West Virginia? I'll be quick, I promise.
I feel like WVU,
Yeah, go for it.
Listen to what I'm saying. I feel like WVU would fit in like where Spurs were in the soccer Super League. Like, are Spurs really one of the 12 best clubs in the world? No. I don't think they are.
On pure value, they are.
I don't think they are.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Count them for me, okay?
Okay.
Alabama, Arkansas. Arkansas is ahead of West Virginia.
You have to understand that some of these schools, not every school will accept an invitation to this.
In this scenario, yes.
I'm just saying.
It's college athletics. Everyone's accepting
think
the
WVU
invitation
gets
for
in.
more
Your
money.
argument then is West Virginia is going to make it as an understudy.
Sure.
So Alabama,
Which
Arkansas,
I'm sure Spurs probably did
Auburn,
as well.
Florida, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, Texas A&M.
Oh no!
All right, we got 8.
No.
Wait.
schools.
Did you just say no to the
hard exception on that?
106,000 seat stadium Tennessee? Did you just say no to that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I did.
There's no reason that West Virginia would get in over Tennessee.
What?
I don't think
Tennessee has how many national
titles? I don't think Tennessee's that big of a brand in 2021. I'm sorry.
They have the 4th biggest stadium in college football.
That's fine. I don't think they're that big of a brand in college athletics right now.
Oh, well, it's not about just right now. I mean, Inter Milan is not good right now.
Yeah, neither is
AC
AC
Milan is not good right now.
Okay, so
They're better than Tennessee.
Keep going.
Okay, take Tennessee out. Take Tennessee out.
No, don't take them out. Tennessee.
Yeah, take Tennessee out.
Take them out. I don't need them. I'm going to be at 30 without them. Okay. Did you get A&M in there as well?
Yes, I did. We're at 7.
Okay. I'm not going to give South Carolina a spot.
Yeah, you shouldn't. That would be
I'm not
stupid.
going to give Mississippi State or Ole Miss a spot.
That would be stupid.
Okay? We're going to keep going.
Okay.
UCLA, USC, Oregon, Stanford.
That's it.
Oh, missing one out west.
That's it out west.
No, there's one more you gotta add in there.
To me, there's multiple that are bigger. You've got 90,000 enrollment Arizona State. You've got Cal.
I think Cal is in for sure.
That market, absolutely.
Cal is 100%.
Bay Area market.
Yeah, Cal's
Bay Area.
We
don't need them.
We
don't need
that
them.
market already with all the other
going.
schools.
Okay.
We don't need it.
We're at
Keep
11.
going.
We're at 11.
Okay, Texas, Oklahoma State,
I might have
Barry
exception to Oklahoma.
Sanders.
Okay. That
You
does
can say-
nothing in 2021.
They
You're
have
going
history.
historic brand.
Yo, if you're gonna leave out Washington and Tennessee, you
that's
need to leave out.
They
Oklahoma
have the
State.
wealthiest donor who just died.
If you're going to say that as your number one defense, that was when I was on board. When you said
Okay.
Barry Sanders,
Well,
as
I
your
was
number
getting
one
there.
thing,
You interrupted me after Barry
dumb.
Sanders.
That's not number one. That's like number.
Okay,
Wait, I get a
keep going.
veto for that. We're at 13.
Okay, we'll keep going. Wisconsin.
I agree with that. Good basketball, good at football.
We're talking football, right?
And
talking
basketball.
football and basketball. The two
Oh,
things that
shit.
matter.
Notre Dame. I didn't know we're
Yeah,
doing
it's way
basketball
better than
too.
Wisconsin.
Penn State. Ohio State.
How much of this are you going purely off of like football attendance?
What pays the bills? Football pays the bills.
We're at 17, by the way. 17.
For the schools, not for
Nebraska.
Oh, that's a good one.
Absolutely.
the
Michigan
league.
State.
Okay. All right. We've had this show going on for a while.
You think
now.
West Virginia is a bigger brand than Nebraska?
What has Nebraska done since like 1993?
What has AC Milan done
Oh my
since
God.
it's
Oh
the
my
biggest brand?
God.
All right, what am I at, John?
19.
Okay. Did you get Michigan State?
You are
Yes,
just
that was 19.
Michigan.
20.
These brands are bigger than West Virginia. But I'm not going
Florida
to.
State,
man.
Nebraska in
You
2021.
still
is-
have Florida State, North Carolina.
Yeah, I haven't hit the ACC yet.
I don't know, man.
Okay, you ready for more?
You're
Clemson.
I think you're
Ooh,
throwing
Clemson.
out some ridiculous.
Very good. 21.
Like I said, it was a stretch
Florida
to say
State.
it, but I think
22.
they could get in. What my
Duke.
point was that I could see
23.
where WVU.
UNC.
24.
These brands I'm about to name are bigger than West Virginia.
You're not
Syracuse. It's why they got
25.
in the ACC.
Yeah, you're
Pitts-
not wrong.
Pittsburgh. It's why they got in the ACC. Virginia Tech. It's why they got in the ACC.
Can I say something? I think this brings up to how messed up conference realignment was, right?
This is-
Because
Every
actually-
school that I named got the call before West Virginia.
I think there were other non-athletics reasons that West Virginia did not get a call from the ACC.
I agree.
I'm
No,
just
I
going
agree
to
with
point
that.
that out.
But what makes you
but
think
that's-
that those reasons won't exist for this?
Because
for
this
the
is going to
Super
have
League?
nothing at all to do with academics.
Yeah, but that's not how this works. Because there's always inherent bias.
I guess what I was saying, I know it was a stretch to say that they're I know they're not really a top 20 brand. I'm not that stupid. But I'm saying I could see a world where they're forming a thing like this and they're trying to sprinkle in good quality programs everywhere in a world where West Virginia would get a call. That's all I was saying.
So I say this: if it is
They would certainly
100%
get a call
only
before
based on
Tennessee and Nebraska and
if it is only based on results, like men's basketball and football results, I agree. West Virginia would probably be one of the top 20 schools if it's based on results. But I don't think there's any chances. This is going to be based on brand, TV market size, and some popularity, donor base, and then some sort of vagueness of results. But I agree. If it's 100% based on,
like there's a world where like if Spurs can get into a thing that's like the top 12 soccer clubs in the world, WVU, if they did a thing like this for college athletics, there's a world where WVU would be around it.
Tennessee and Nebraska have each had a top 25 recruiting class in football each of the last
That's
25
fine.
years.
They need to
West
win
Virginia
more than
has
4
had
games.
one.
They need to win
They-
more than a game. Like
so I think
they're
that
bad.
like
They're
I think
bad
it's-
in basketball. They're bad. Give me a.
Tennessee was like a 2 seed 3 years in a row in basketball.
What have they done? What have they done?
I mean, what's West Virginia done? They got one Final Four in 2010.
But they're like fairly consistently getting to
Tennessee is recently as well. I
Well,
don't
West
think.
Virginia's had a much better football program as well.
I think Boise State would be in.
I mean, there's a reason why until like 5 years ago, West Virginia's facilities were like the
That's a
85th
joke.
best in the
That's
country.
a joke. We have to wrap this up. If you're throwing out Boise State, we got to wrap this up. That's
Actually, I didn't mention some of the non-power fives like Houston, BYU,
whatever.
San
Okay,
Diego
there
State.
we go.
100%.
We've
would
done
be
this
in.
for a while
100%.
now. I'm calling it. I'm calling it.
I cannot wait for the text messages over the
That's-
next 3 hours about this.
I don't care.
You know, you got to get into we haven't even talked about the basketball schools too. I mean, Georgetown, Marquette, these are bigger brands.
But they're not getting in if they don't have football.
Oh, okay. I thought we were
Period.
doing basketball too.
No,
Also, I didn't
but
mention
it's-
Louisville.
They need both. Like they need both.
Louisville got the call first.
Academics.
Louisville doesn't have good academics.
But West Virginia there's a stigma about West Virginia.
That's fair.
West Virginia, as of 2008, West Virginia, and Carvel, you might be able to tell us this, had more Rhodes Scholars than any other public institution on the East
But
Coast.
no, West Virginia has, and especially the last few years, we have grown, or at least we've tried to grow in our perception nationally as like a research school because of the fact that I think everyone thinks of WVU. First off, they think of negative things about West Virginia.
100%.
And two, they think of the whole party school thing.
If you look at like and I know like we're all biased, we went there, but like West Virginia actually has like fairly reputable programs in some pretty specialized areas.
Engineering,
R1
medical is
institution.
fantastic.
Yeah.
An R1 research institution, baby. West Virginia University. Go first. Now we just end the episode here. But yeah, so there we have it. A good, fun, sports-filled episode where we all agreed that West Virginia would be one of the top 20 brands in all of college athletics. Let's go Mountaineers. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We will, I don't know. I'm sure we'll get some, I don't know. We'll get some.
Carvelli seems flustered. He seems pissed and flustered right now.
I just can't fathom a world where anybody thinks Nebraska is a bigger brand in college athletics than WVU. And please don't send that clip to my boss. But be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen from, whatever app or YouTube channel, whatever. Give us a 5-star rating and review on your podcast apps while you're there. And Nick, where can they reach us on the socials and whatnot to talk to us?
Yeah, if you want to check out Nebraska's 46 conference championships, 5 national titles,
Like
you
before
can do so
1970.
by going to Phoning It In Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you want to read about Tennessee's 4 national titles, you can do so by emailing us at phoningitinpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you, Peyton Manning.
Or you can get, I just made up that number. I don't even know if that's right. If you
Wow.
want to call us and leave a voicemail, you can 304-627-1889. 1889 is how many consecutive, sorry, go ahead.
It was also the year that whatever you were about to point out happened last.
Hitler was born.
And as always, we want to shout out Miguel Sopoleon
Never forget.
for our theme song. Check out Saving Miles Lemon on Spotify or Apple Music. I think I saw something on Instagram. They're about to have some new music that they're putting out. So
I think Central Florida, I mean, they've got that enrollment of like 60K.
yeah, that's great. That's
And the
awesome.
lazy
That's
river.
super great. And
The Orlando market.
But yes, that's all we have for this week's show, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Go Black.